Chat, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Get people funneling in. Just a heads up. Bennett and I are both on single dad duty right now, and so had to push it a little by a minute or so. I'm waiting on Bennett to get back to the stream before we get going here. So that's where we're at with this. How we feeling, chat? How we feeling? How we feeling? Get those comments coming in. How we feeling about the game? Holy War rivalry this weekend, man. It's a big one. He's coming. He's coming. He's like I said, dealing with child single dad stuff right now. So I think so. Miles is sick, and I think Bennett's dealing with another one. So he'll be back in just a sec. He'll be here. Just a reminder, please use the chat. Use the chat feature. Submit questions, comments, share your thoughts, share your opinions. We always get a kick out of the comments. So appreciate it. There's Bennett. We had him back here. There you are.
Solo dad duty.
Solo dad duty.
Stay down, my oldest son. We're both soloing it right now, aren't we?
Yep. So hoping we make it through the stream. Oh man. Yeah, but let's get to it. Again, welcome back. Welcome on into the Utah Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle. That's Josh Bennett. Have a good show in store for you guys tonight. Obviously, this is the big one, Utah BYU rivalry. We'll be looking at matchups. We'll be breaking down, having conversations about some of the storylines. We'll share our winning recipe for Utah in this matchup and key ingredients to a Utah victory. And then we'll finish up with the Q&A and some rapid fire predictions. So really excited for this one. Obviously, this Saturday is one of the biggest rivalry games in a really long time, and maybe of all time. This is a big one for not just for Utah, but I think for the rivalry in general, right? I think there's clearly a lot of hype around it, and so looking forward to this contest. And before we dive into things, I want to make sure to take a moment to give a shout out to everybody that's tuned in this season, that's downloaded the podcast, that's listened, that's pressed play on YouTube. All of that sort of stuff really helps me, helps Bennett, helps the Utah Blockcast. And so just want to remind everybody, please, if you can, go to the podcast platforms, go to YouTube, give those 5-star ratings. It really does help us out. You can go to the KSL Sports page, go to the Utah Blockcast playlist, and turn on some notifications there. So, and then again, just another reminder, use the chat. We love to highlight people's comments, people's questions, and that's where we get the questions for the Q&A that we'll circle back to later tonight. So, Bennett, man, we got a lot to get to tonight, but how you doing, man?
Feeling good, Bartle. Feeling good. It's Thursday. Some people might say it's the best day of the week. I'm starting to warm up to that idea. Used to be a big Saturday guy, but Thursday means
Saturdays are still pretty great.
They're really good. 2 meetings on the agenda tomorrow, and they're internal meetings, easy ones. So the weekend's officially upon us. Excited to break this one down, hear from the fans, and just help everybody get ready for a massive Holy War matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, and obviously let's set the stage for this one. This is the first ranked matchup between Utah and BYU in 16 years. So 2009 was the last time that these two teams were ranked in the same game. And obviously BYU coming into this one ranked 15th, Utah 25th. So this is a big one. The stage, big noon kickoff. Obviously it's not the big noon game, but this is a prime time slot. And all of the country is going to be watching this one, especially with the way that Dave Portnoy and Barstool are hyping this one up, man. This is a big one. And I think I can't remember a rivalry game that has been as hyped up as this one, or have the stage that this one has, this is a really special opportunity for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely say it's a big game. You can definitely say that. There's obviously bragging rights on the line. The winner becomes the probable favorite to sit next to Texas Tech in Arlington for the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
And you've got to consider trends, right? Right now, BYU they have 2 wins in a row over Utah. That third win would make this a legitimate streak in its truest sense, and would reinforce a positive trend for BYU, and not great one for Utah in terms of all things, in state, what they battle for and whatnot. So yeah, this is a big game with a big stage, and it's going to be really fun to put this one in front of the whole country.
Yeah, I think this one sums it up with the chat. Is obviously Utah had a very strong reputation there for a really long stretch of being good in big games, right? And a lot of that has come at home, but Utah has certainly had some big road wins as well over the years. Obviously, talking to Terrell Burgess on the Utah Blockcast last night, he named a big one, and that 2019 Washington game up in Seattle was fantastic. And this is arguably the biggest road game in quite some time for Utah. We can talk about the Florida game in Gainesville and all that, but this is a big one. Just given the stakes, given the ratings, the rankings, and all that, I think this is a really significant one and an opportunity for Utah to, get back and rebuild that big game reputation.
Absolutely.
So let's continue just building this one out, right? Utah leads the series 60-33-7. BYU has won the last 2 matchups Utah had. Obviously, the 9-game win streak before that. Last 20 matchups, Utah with an advantage 14-6 in the win-loss column with an average score of 27 to 20. And then, with BYU coming in this one, they're obviously feeling good. They're feeling confident with 2 straight rivalry wins. They're looking to extend that to 3 and get that sort of win streak for the first time in over 30 years, which is a really long time. So, they're going to be hungry for this one as well. But I think, this is a game that, when you look at the matchup and the breakdown and all of that, obviously, Utah fans should feel confident going into this one, as BYU fans should as well.
Yeah, and this isn't just a rivalry that commingles once a year. It's 24/7, 365. It divides households, workplaces, churches, social media timelines. People go nuts for this game because the bragging rights are that important. And there's only 45 miles that separate Rice Eccles and Lavelle Edwards Stadium. And the enemy is your family, it's your neighbor, it's your coworker. There's not that many rivalries that are this intertwined.
Well, and you can raise your kids to, in this rivalry. Adam sharing a great thing, teaching the 2-year-old boo BYU. That's great. I'm trying to get Miles to do, well, I shouldn't say I am, because I'm an unbiased media member, but Kendra is. Kendra, she's proudly trying to get that out of Miles. So yeah, that's what this rivalry is all about. It's your best friends. I haven't talked to Jeff Hansen this week, but obviously we went to school together, great friends otherwise. But I don't talk to Jeff this week. And so, yeah, it's like that. Like, it's your best friend. You're, growing up, all of that sort of stuff. Like, that's what it is. And it's a lot of fun. So, man, this one's a big one. And let's see here. We got a question, right? We want to dive into this one.
This one?
Debatable.
Adam
I don't know.
Adam Halleck says, "Do you think they'll put a spy on Dampier? I heard that's all you need to do."
We'll see, man. But again, just a quick reminder, want to make sure we get everybody involved as much as we can in this one. Obviously, this is the rivalry game in the state of Utah. This is big. This is huge for Utah, for BYU. And so, we want to get your thoughts, your opinions on this game. So please feel free to share your favorite memories in the chat. And we'll make sure to highlight those throughout the chat as well. So please feel free to share that. I know we all have them. I have them. Bennett, you have them. Everybody has a favorite memory, a favorite game, favorite moment, all of those type of stuff. Make sure to share those in the chat tonight. We'll do our best to get to all of them tonight. So really excited about this. But yeah, dude, the preparation all week long is so interesting, right? Because this is a big game. And it was interesting having Terrell Burgess on yesterday on the Blockcast, Hunter Dimmick today, finally linked up with my guy, my fellow Syracusan. And it was fun listening to those guys talk about the rivalry game and the preparation for that game. And they both kind of shared some things about that game and the preparation all week long. That there's a little bit to it. There's a little bit more to it. They have the video playing on loop all the time. They will have like former players come in, talk to the team about the rivalry. They'll have a history lesson on it, which is what Coach Whittingham shared in his press conference, especially now, which is so much more important now with the transfer portal and so many new players coming in each and every year. That getting them indoctrinated in the history of this rivalry is so important. And to have those experiences from former players, guys coming into the program, into the facility to share their thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this game is so important. And that is a thing. That's a thing there. And they've got other things that will stay in-house and stay there out of respect to some people. But there's additional things that I know they've got that they go to, and again, it's a big deal. These coaches pay attention to just about everything when it comes to this rivalry, whether it's things coaches or players say, whether it's stuff fans say. All of this stuff is kept tabs on. So it's interesting. But this is a big week.
Yeah, and really gotta think that the team's gonna lean on the Fano brothers, the JHDs, the Jackson Bennies, the Lander Bartons, the Smith Snowdens, a lot of these these guys that have either transferred over from BYU or TDS. Sorry, Tyrell, you're right. That is our bad.
Our bad.
Transferred over from TDS, and that is another thing that they do. They don't refer to them as what they want to be called. It's TDS.
Yeah,
but no, you got to think like the Fano brothers are definitely at the core of this team. Those are two guys that are going to be vocal this week, making sure everybody's taking every snap in practice seriously, every rep and whatnot. Just you got to be on top of things this week, and there's some good dudes on the roster making sure that everybody understands the importance of this game. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Wait,
all right.
Real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
No, they're going to be 4-day-old donuts. Is the cougar tail worth the try? Bodie asks. It's a novelty item. It's a marketing gimmick. It's a very mid donut. They're made 4 days in advance, so they're stale by the time you get them. It's really awkward to hold them and eat them. That's about all I'll say there. Sorry, Bartle. But it's just it's not. Get the ice cream, get the chocolate milk, get the. I saw somebody with banana pudding. The cougar tail, you're going to spend a lot on a stale donut. No, not worth it.
Yeah, no, it's not. You can go to Holiday and get a comparable donut. so that's what I would recommend. Let's see here. We got some memories coming in. Keep them coming. Do we want to get to some of the blockhead questions? Let's get to some of those, Bennett.
Yeah, we got a couple from the blockheads. This one from 7 Utes. One player from BYU that would make the most impact on Utah's roster. One player from Utah's roster that would make the most impact on BYU's roster. Who you going with?
All right. There's probably a more obvious answer than the one I'm going to give. So I'll leave that one to you.
Thank you.
But
Let me
I would
smart.
say I would say Faletau Satuola. I think with what the potential he has, as a big rangy safety, it would just add another dynamic to the defense, which is interesting. So that would be a player that I would vote for is Faletau Satuola.
Yeah, for Utah, I would take the 6'4" Chase Roberts to pair with Ryan Davis and Dallin Bentley. Give a nice target. So yeah, Utah's going to take Chase Roberts with the first round pick.
Man, if you could make a trade in college football, that would be an interesting conversation to have. Yeah, that's an interesting one. In terms of Utah players going the other way, I think Dallin Bentley would make a big impact with what he's doing at tight end. Utah just TU up here. That's what they're doing up there, and just continuing to get production out of that tight end position. Dallin Bentley has been fantastic, and he doesn't get enough credit for what he's doing as a blocker, and he's really good in that regard. So Dallin Bentley would be my vote if I had to send one down there.
They did take one off the roster, just maybe not the right one.
Yeah.
For BYU, I'll go with the obvious pick here. BYU does not have very much on the defensive end. In the defensive end room, on the edge there, it's got to be John Henry Daly. They probably wish they could have him back.
Yeah. But dude, credit to him, man. Like, he came here with an incredible mindset to just get to work, develop his game. He spent last year redshirting and just continue to work his tail off. And I think Lewis Powell's been really good for him in terms of developing his confidence and his ability as a pass rusher. And so John Henry Daly, who knows what he's doing if he's at BYU, but he's come to Utah with the right mindset and taken to the coaching and the development under Coach Lou. So yeah, he's been fantastic, and I think caught a lot of people by surprise. Talking to Hunter Dimmick today, he loves what he sees out of JHD. Loves what he sees, and he thinks he's going to play a pretty big role this weekend for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, JHD has 8 total sacks on the season. BYU's defensive line has 2.
Yeah,
the entire defensive line combined. So
pretty wild. Yeah, pretty wild. All right, another blockhead question. This one from Hypno Ute. If it came down to the old way, with some single mano-a-mano type of combat, which warrior are you putting forward from each team to do battle to the death to determine who wins the game, controls the kingdom, etc., etc.? And for me, there's no more obvious choice for Utah than Logan Fano. If we're talking battle to the death, it is Logan Fano. He will not lose.
And I'll take his brother. I'll take his brother, Spencer.
Be interested to see who BYU would send. I have no feel for a good warrior. They've got him. I just don't know who would be best. But Logan Fano is obvious.
Used to know a guy. If I'm BYU, though, I'm probably sending Isaiah Glasker. It's called what it is.
Yeah, he's got that reach.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Let's get into the matchup, and I think this next one will welcome on what we started doing last week, bringing a fan on to share their experiences and to share their thoughts and opinions, because that's what this is all about, right? This is the Utah Blockcast, and the fans play such a big role because obviously I was once a fan, and a long time ago I was a fan, and became something just out of hard work and all that. So I love being able to give fans a voice and a platform. That's something that I lost sight of over the last few years, but I think I've regained the vision. And so want to welcome on our fan this week. Our good friend.
Oh, I'm not even center. Look at that.
Oh man, amateur
in uniform and everything.
Let's go.
Yeah,
backward
dude,
hat, beard gang.
Don't you do a weekly podcast?
I do. I'm gonna do 2 now. We're expanding to a league-wide podcast.
Nice.
I love it, dude.
I
feel a little out of uniform because I'm not in the black snapback with the little tag on the side.
Come on, dude.
But everything else
is new.
Perfect.
Triplets.
No, I should have been better. I should have known, but I got home a little later than I was expecting from the tattoo and just threw one on. It was the closest one to my desk, and nothing else is black snapback.
There you go.
Dustin got a blockhead tattoo to make his debut on the show. It's good.
That was
good
the requirement.
dedication.
Yeah, that was the requirement. Yeah. And look, you already a third brother comment. It's
you fit right
thing.
in, Dustin.
Tyrell, get the beard game up, Tyrell. Get the beard game up, fellas.
Wait, wedding rings too, right?
Of course.
Wedding rings with the beard.
Yeah. All right, Dustin. Let's talk. Let's talk. We'll get you on here, get you sharing some thoughts, some opinions. Just man, I want to hear from you. Just how you feeling about this game, this matchup specifically.
I feel really comfortable about this game. There's nothing outside of like explosive plays. I feel very comfortable about this game. I don't fear BYU like sustaining drives. I don't fear like Bear Bachmeier picking apart this defense, but they have shown an ability to just make big chunk plays for big yards, for big touchdowns. Bears probably thrown the best pass of any quarterback in Utah this season against West Virginia. He threw one in between 2 defenders. It was just that was picture perfect, and Parker Kingston made a great catch on it. Like that's the only aspect of BYU's offense that scares me. But if you're going to tell me that you're facing off Utah's offense, which can sustain drives and slowly matriculate the ball down the field, versus BYU having to rely on chunk plays, I feel very confident in the one that can do it gradually and actually sustain offense.
I think that's a very important point to make, and I think that is a big element to BYU's success and their formula and what they've been able to build their offense. You know, essentially the identity that they've embraced is those big plays, and when they don't get those, the offense can sputter at times. Right? They punted twice or 3 times against West Virginia at home, and you know it's just that the Utah defense does a really good job of making teams inefficient. So I think you make the point that BYU has been really good at generating big plays, and I think that is probably priority number 1 for Utah on the defensive side of the ball, is limiting those opportunities, taking them away, you know, as much as possible. These guys are talented. You know, Chase Roberts, Parker Kingston, Bear Bachmeier, they've got talent. They're going to make plays, but just limiting the damage, right? That's going to be the key in this one. That's what it's all about in this rivalry matchup.
Yeah, and I should say I like Utah's depth also a little bit more. You two were just talking about like who would benefit more from trades. Bennett tosses out Daly. I mean, we could give them any one of 5 defensive ends. We could give them Holtzclaw. He's got more. He has our 5th string defensive end has more sacks than all of their defensive ends combined. So they don't have a single sack from that position. And I just last year you saw BYU benefiting a lot from a little bit of luck, and they stayed really, really healthy. And this year they've lost a little bit. They're going to be down a safety. Kelly's, I'm assuming, not going to be 100%. He's going to be shot up with all sorts of painkillers, kind of like Bryson Barnes was in that bowl game, and just unable to feel his entire body. But I like the depth also that Utah has versus what BYU is dealing with right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, let's dive into some of these matchups, right? And let's start with the Utah defense up front. BYU rushing attack versus the Utah run defense. I think this is going to be a really important element for Utah. So I want to get your guys' takes on this matchup specifically. BYU coming into this one, averaging 238 yards per game, 5.7 yards per carry. They are number 11 in broken missed tackle rate in the Big 12. at about a 17.5% rate. Utah's run defense, 67th in the country at 142 yards per game allowed, 4 yards per carry, which is solid. And then number 7 in the Big 12 with the 20.1% stuff rate. So this is going to be an important factor. And I think with this Utah defensive line, I think Utah's a couple key players are trending positively in terms of their health at just the right time. And then with this BYU offensive line, I've been really impressed with them. They've surprised in terms of how well they've played. I was looking at some numbers, great pass blocking efficiency, but they have the third most blown blocks. And we've talked about blown blocks before on this podcast, but they are third most in the Big 12 on run plays. So I want to, now that we've got that all out, how are you guys feeling about this matchup specifically?
Dustin, you want to start? You want me to start?
Sure, I'll jump right in.
You're our guest.
What I really like is Utah's ability to generate pressure without bringing without blitzing, without bringing extra guys. If they can get pressure with just their front, and they don't have to rely on like bringing a cornerback, that allows Scally to do a lot of different things. Like he can mix it up. He could drop linebackers into coverage. He can have I look back to I believe it was a 2008 game where Max Hall threw an interception to I believe Paul Kruger, dropping from his defensive end position. Like you can do that type of stuff when you don't have to get fancy, when you don't have to bring cornerbacks on blitzes, when you don't have to blitz your linebackers. And that just lends itself more towards dropping your guys into coverage, taking away those chunk plays, and being able to confuse a true freshman quarterback. Just Utah's ability to generate pressure without bringing extra men, I think, is one of the keys to this game.
Yeah, and Utah has one of the best pressure rates with a 4-man rush without blitzing. So that's gonna be key. I think early in the game you might see Scally send that pressure, dial up some blitzes early on to try to get a true freshman quarterback on his heels, get him a little rattled. But once you're able to establish that, create a little chaos back there, create a little uneasiness in the backfield for Bear, that's where, as the game wears on, I'd like to see Utah bring forward, keep everything in front of them, and be okay giving up 4 yards here, 5 yards there, and just getting to third down and giving your defense a chance to get off the field.
Where's the confidence level in terms of limiting the run? Like that's going to be a big thing in this game with LJ Martin. Bear Bachmeier is probably going to be utilized. He's got the fullback frame. He'll have a heavy presence. How do we feel about Utah going into this one with the run defense specifically?
The biggest issue with their run game is Utah at least, they have to tackle. Like Bear Bachmeier is not the type of quarterback that you're going to be able to bull rush somebody and reach out with one hand and just yank him down. He's too big and strong for that. You're not taking him down. And if you do bring somebody off the edge, like say you do bring like a cornerback on a blitz and it gets there and they decide to just throw a shoulder in and try to deliver like a highlight hit, which is so in vogue in college football these days, like that's not going to work. That's not going to bring him down. And if you do that and he just kind of shrugs you off, he's going to find somebody. So it's all, I believe this week is all just about sure tackling. They have no depth at running back. So if you can bottle up LJ Martin, they have no depth. I mean, Sione Moa, I believe, is out. And other than that, they have a Damuni who's got, I believe, 61 yards on the season. Like there's no depth at the running back position for BYU. So if you can bottle him up and you just make sure that you tackle Bear Bachmeier, you just wrap him up and yank him down, you can slow down that rushing attack.
Yeah, and on paper, it looks like Utah has a less than average, maybe average run D, 67th in the country. I've been listening to quite a few segments that are breaking down this game just to get some of that outsider perspective. It's always nice to hear what people think that aren't living it and breathing it every day for either Utah or BYU. And a lot of people are pointing to that and saying Utah doesn't have that great of a run D. But you take away the West Virginia game where they threw the ball 13 times. There's a lot to do with game script and whatnot. Some of the weather there. You take that away, and Utah starts to creep up and not be, a top 25 run D, but there's that outlier there. I think this is a big opportunity for Utah to show that it's a no run zone kind of thing. I think Utah will be up for the call, but I would imagine that kind of plays into what Utah wants. Hey, go ahead, take 3-4 yards here, take 2 yards there, 5 yards here. Just keep everything in front of you and wear the other team down through a physical game of football. I think Utah. I don't see a world where Utah totally shuts down the BYU run game. It is effective. They are good. LJ runs very hard. To Dustin's point, Bear is powerful, and you stole a thought right out of my head, Dustin. It's don't get cute with the tackling. Get in front of him, wrap him up, and bring him down. They're not great at breaking tackles. Again, to the stats that you called out, Bartle, they're number 11 in the Big 12 in broken missed tackle rate at 17.5%. So if you can put a body on these guys, they will go down, and that's what's going to be important, especially when you think of some of the tackling woes Utah's had thus far in the season.
All right, let's switch it other way around. Utah's rushing attack versus this BYU run defense. I think what we saw or have seen over the last couple of weeks is, there's potential here for Utah to really move the ball against this BYU defensive front, and they've got great linebackers, Isaiah Glasker, Jack Kelly, who, with his shoulder, or I believe it was a shoulder, dislocated shoulder, that's, he can be healthy and that, but still it's going to be a thing that he just injured it a couple weeks ago. And, one of the biggest hurdles for players coming back from injury is always the mental stuff. It could impact him in terms of how he goes about tackling. He might look to protect his shoulder, which could expose him to poor tackling angles, and that sort of thing. And, as long as Utah is physical and that, I think that's something that could be a factor. But beyond that, I think there's reason to be optimistic that Utah will be able to get movement up front, and because they've done it, each and every week. And so that's going to be a big key. But curious how you guys feel, Dustin, about this one specifically.
Yeah, you just look at BYU's last 3 games, and it's not that so much that I want to gloss over what West Virginia did, but they're starting a freshman who's just – they're not letting him throw the ball. So BYU is keying off on the run. They're trying to take that away. But you go back to the Colorado game, they had 2 players averaging over 6 yards per carry. Welch had 6.1 and Miller had 6.5. And then you look at the Arizona rushing attack, they also – had 2 running backs averaging over 6 yards per carry, and which just shows me that running backs can move the ball against Arizona. And Utah is one of the best rushing teams in the country. Like, Utah borderline almost feels like a service academy with how well they run the ball. And I think with the combination, especially with the emergence of Bray, it gives you so much. Like you have Parker, who can give you both. He can run tough up the middle and he can bust it outside you. And Nikari Rogers, he's a tough, hard-nosed runner, and then Bray can beat you to the outside. It's like there's just depth, and you can attack all areas of the field. And Beck, especially this season, has shown us that he can be extremely versatile in how he attacks a defense. I think Utah is going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a point for Utah to run the ball. I guess there's that world where BYU tries to steal from that Texas Tech blueprint and load the box and dare Dampier to throw it. I also feel like that's been an emphasis that Utah has focused on since that Texas Tech game, and you saw that immediate turnaround to going to West Virginia. You saw a lot more throws to that intermediate area, and Dampier was able to connect on some of those. So I think there's more confidence in that intermediate throw game. And if you do see a world where they try to just totally sell on the run, I feel confident in Utah being able to say, no, we're gonna move the chains. We're gonna hit you for the 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards. And there's just a lot of options. This is not a predictable run attack. Like, you've got Daniel Bray coming across in motion, and then there's the option to hand it to him there, or to give it to a running back, or for Dampier to keep it. It's not predictable. It keeps you on your toes. It's very creative the way that Beck has designed that run scheme. And I think one way or another, Utah is going to kind of find that. And it's going to come down to that mix of being able to not make it as easy as spying Dampier, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think with this run game, there's been elements added to it each and every week where there's been a new wrinkle, whether it be Dallin Bentley, into the backfield and motioning in and becoming sort of a lead blocker at times, or Daniel Bray emerging as another option to kind of take those outside jet sweep type runs. And now we know that Wayshawn Parker has been dealing with a nagging injury. Kyle Whittingham addressed that on Monday, that he's been limited in sort of his workload and what he's been able to handle. I don't know if too many people caught this. He kind of said it under his breath, but he said essentially that I anticipate that changing moving forward, speaking specifically to Wayshawn Parker and the workload that they anticipate for him. So you can go back, you can watch it. I caught it very, very subtly, but Kyle Whittingham definitely snuck that in there. So, he's been really impressive in terms of his ability to create chunk plays and explosive plays at that on the ground. And I think I would not be surprised to see him in a larger workload this weekend. Obviously, with Devin Dampier, he looked fantastic, looked dynamic. He is going to need to be dynamic, because we know that not only is BYU likely going to employ a QB spy, but they are a heavy zone defense. And when you play zone, you've got your eyes on the quarterback. So it's going to be important for Dampier to be dynamic and to force missed tackles and to make guys miss, to be elusive. And to see that from him last week against Arizona State was really encouraging. So I feel much better about that. But to your point, Bennett, that at some point, he's going to have to make BYU pay through the air. And I think what we saw against West Virginia was encouraging, but we know that there's got to be not just, you can't just get that. You're going to have to convert on some opportunities probably down the field this week that we haven't seen so far. So we'll see. But I like what this game, how it impacts, what it means for Utah on the ground specifically. So let's dive into more of the quarterback conversation. Already talked about Devin Dampier needing to throw the ball a little bit more effectively. Bear Bachmeier coming into this one. Very similar numbers to Dampier across the board, with what he's done. He's thrown for, he's averaging 203 yards per game. He's thrown for 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He has 7 touchdowns on the ground, 295 rushing yards, and a 72.5 PFF grade. With Bear, he, like you said, Dustin, big talent, can make some great throws, and that. But this is the sort of game where we'll learn a lot more about him as a true freshman, and that's going to be interesting to see. And I think diving into Bear Bachmeier, there's sort of a formula here, right? Just like any quarterback, struggles under pressure, right? But also has struggled against, or at least he's thrown the more interceptions when not blitzed, and more turnover-worthy plays he's had when not blitzed. So that kind of gets back to your point earlier about the base pass rush, that his performance even speaks to that if you can get home with your base pass rush, it tends to lead to turnover-worthy opportunities for Utah to capitalize on. So that'll be something to be mindful of. But how do you guys feel about how Utah's coming into this one with Devin Dampier and with how they need to defend Bear Bachmeier?
I feel very. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Just keep continuously saying that I feel very comfortable. But Dampierre's he's looked so good throwing the ball this season. Outside of like the ball slipping out of his hands against Texas Tech, or like he's made very smart decisions with the ball. And I have noticed a little something that I think Utah can sort of pick on, being a team that has sort of kind of kept everything short. Evan Johnson, BYU's cornerback, I've noticed they really like to kind of play. They like to play back and then jump like quick turnaround routes. He had a 4-yard interception return for a touchdown against ECU, where like me watching it at home, I see, okay, he's further back. He's probably 5 yards deeper than the line to go. And it looks like that's going to be there, just like a quick turnaround right at the sticks. And he jumped that. And if you take advantage of that, and they expect Utah to take advantage of those short throws, and they try to get to the outside quickly, and you're expecting them to jump those routes, just a quick little out and up is going to lead you to some big chunk plays that we haven't seen this year. So I think not only I have the confidence in Dampier to make the right decisions, but I've also seen areas where Utah can attack the BYU pass defense.
Yeah, and both quarterbacks going against the toughest defense they've played yet this year. Last week, you see, let's say last week was minus the game that nobody really wants to talk about. Arizona State was supposed to be that defensive test, but BYU playing against Arizona, that was Bear's worst game of the season. He threw 2 picks. He put the ball on the ground. It'll be interesting to see what he's able to do against this Utah defense. I think for him, he's going to have to be able to play confident for 4 quarters of football. He can't get rattled early, can't start making mistakes early. Utah's built to win those games where they win the turnover margin, and he's definitely ahead of schedule as far as what I may have projected coming into the season. But really interested to see what he's able to do against this Utah defense, and I do feel confident in Utah being able to create some havoc back there. As far as Dampier goes, if he's able to overcome the spy, he's going to have a great day. I think we've seen what Dampier's able to do when fully healthy. Watching the way he played last week, it's just totally in control of the game. Didn't need to do a lot with his arm. It'll be really interesting to see, what Jay Hill cooks up to try and limit him. But
yeah. And with Dampier, right? So this BYU defense, heavy zone defense, over 60% zone defense. They do play more man coverage than they have in years past. This isn't necessarily the drop 8 coverage that we've, BYU was notorious for a couple years ago. They've got some guys where they feel comfortable, a little bit more comfortable playing man coverage, but this is still a heavy zone defense team. And if they elect to QB spy Dampier a lot, that just takes another defender out of coverage. And so that's another player that's one less player in coverage to defend areas down the field. Now, with that, what they've also done, they don't blitz a lot. They've rushed 3 or 4 players on 141 of 173 dropbacks this season. So they do not blitz. They don't like to send 5 or more. They like to keep it to their base pass rush and to keep players in coverage. So if they're going to QB spy a lot, I think Dampier, he's nuanced enough, experienced enough that he can sort of, manipulate that a little bit with his legs. We saw that against Arizona State last week. The Ryan Davis explosive play was created because Dampier maneuvered within the pocket a little bit and created an opportunity for Ryan Davis to cut it upfield. And everybody had their eyes on Dampier because he was running around a little bit. It wasn't a lot. It was just enough to create an opening for Davis down the field. So, this is going to be a game where we feel we get a greater sense of the experience and command of the offense for Dampier, in my opinion. Really interested to see what Beck does. He is such an X factor in this game because we haven't seen him. We saw obviously that Utah's been on a big stage before, but with Dampier being hampered against Texas Tech, how much did that limit what he was able to call? So that's going to be an interesting factor in this one with Jason Beck and how he elects to call this game against this BYU defense. It's a factor I'm really interested to see. So lot more to break down with this, but yeah.
Dustin, I know we sure appreciated you in here. I know you got to bounce out here in a second, so just wanted to make sure you had a moment to, any closing thoughts. Appreciate you coming in, and it's been good. It's you brought a lot to the show tonight.
I'm very good at talking a lot and saying a lot of words to say usually very little. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on and say a lot of words that probably meant very little in the grand scheme of things. Everything that I said will probably turn out wrong, because that's usually how it goes in rivalry games. You know what you're going to expect, and then the exact opposite happens. But like I said, I do feel extremely confident in this game. It's a type of game that I think Utah should win by 2 or 3 scores unless weird, freaky rivalry game things happen. So as Pac-12 After Dark fans, we should all be used to that type of stuff. So just be prepared and fully expect to come out of here with a win.
Final score prediction?
I think I've gotten myself down to 34-17, 34-20, somewhere right around there.
Awesome. Dustin, appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on. You've got a hockey podcast. I don't know that I can promote it with who I work for, but you've got a hockey pod. People know where to find you. So I hope people tune in.
Listen, the Mammoth are going to be good this year. So listen to the podcast and we'll tell you exactly what to think about the hockey team.
Awesome. Appreciate you, dude.
Thanks.
Oh, I cut him off. Dang it. All right, Bennett, man, let's wrap this up with our winning recipe and then getting into some of these over-unders and a Q&A, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, dude. Give me your first key ingredient in your winning recipe.
Yeah, I think starting fast is going to be important. We've seen it the last 2 outings for Utah. Establish that game plan early, control the game. Lavelle Edwards, it's going to be a ruckus there. No better way to succeed in an environment like that than to punch the home team in the mouth early. So we'd like to see some tempo and just pounce quick. Yeah.
For me, it's going to be about protecting the ball and playing fundamentally sound football. And if you guys remember, I published an episode prior to the season kicking off. And in there, I I used my little whiteboard and I predicted one key stat that would determine each contest. And for this game, it was the turnover margin. If you go back, the last 2 contests, Utah and BYU, or excuse me, TDS. Sorry, apologies. But it's been near identical production. The only difference has been the turnover margin. And so that's going to be key. As long as Utah can protect the football with the way that they've been able to operate on offense, with the success that they've had getting to the red zone and then punching it in once they get to the red zone, I like Utah's chances here, but it's all going to be about them protecting the football. And that includes obviously ball security, holding on to the ball, Dampier protecting the ball through the air, making good decisions, and then being fundamentally sound and aware. We know that BYU, they like to utilize the trick plays in all types of different situations. At home, they really like to do that. They have the crowd behind them. And I think that is going to be really key as well, is Utah being fundamentally sound and aware. Obviously, we talked about tackling. Tackling is so important in this one. So being fundamentally sound and protecting the football, that's key number 1 for me.
Yeah, I'd say my second ingredient, kind of already touched on this, but just revisit real quick. Make BYU, make TDS respect the pass. Everybody's going to give me a hard time in the space, I'd imagine. But no, make TDS respect the pass. Would not be surprised to see them load the box early, test Dampier's arm early on. Although I don't don't believe that TDS has the same talent as Tech does within their defensive front. They do have two good linebackers that can move quickly. That's the closest thing that we'll see to what Texas Tech brought. And if TDS does go that route, Dampier will need to connect on some of those intermediate 10 to 20 yard throws. And if he's able to do that, then Jay Hill's going to have to hit that reset button on defense and respect the run and throw game, which is going to allow Utah to play a balanced game of football the way it wants and kind of just control what this game looks like. So my
next key ingredient is the base pass rush plus Smith Snowden. So, in terms of the individual matchups, these are the top two matchups for me. It's Smith Snowden versus Roberts and Kingston. I'm sure he's going to see time against both of them, but then also John Henry Daly and Logan Fano against Isaiah Jada and Andrew Gentry. Those are the top two matchups in this game for me. And, with what Snowden has done, what he's shown us so far, if you're just going to say Jeff Sims sucks, he's not a good quarterback, you're not evaluating what Snowden actually did in that game. Snowden was on Tyson in great position all throughout the night, gave up very little separation. And to me, it was a really encouraging performance because I know he's going to be counted on in this game to have a similar effect against Roberts and Kingston. So you're not going to completely eliminate either of those players. They're too good. Coach Roderick has done a really good job of finding ways to get them the ball as well. So you're not going to completely eliminate them. The key here is just making them inefficient, which gets back to limiting the explosive plays and just making them inefficient. And if Snowden can do that and there's sound coverage in the backfield, as long as Snowden can handle those responsibilities for the majority of the game, he's not going to do it all game long, I would suspect. But I think that's going to do a lot for the pass rush. And these work hand in hand with one another. John Henry Daly, 28 pressures so far this season. Isaiah Jada has only given up 6 pressures total, but he's been penalized 4 times this season. And he also hasn't played a pass rusher, competed against a pass rusher like John Henry Daly. There's a significant gap between John Henry Daly and the best defensive end that Jata has gone up against. And so that's going to be a really interesting matchup for me. And I think, again, just those two things, Snowden in coverage and the base pass rush, those are going to be really important elements and my next biggest key ingredient in this one.
Yeah, my third ingredient is there's going to be this push-pull between the two rushing attacks for BYU and Utah. I give up. I can't. I just
It's fine.
Roast me later, chat. They can run the ball extremely well. Utah can run the ball extremely well. It's whoever's able to find those chunks here and there and able to get first down after first down and control the game, that's who's gonna probably come out on top of this one. So keep that run game in check. They get 6 yards on first down. Can't give them the first down right there on second down. You can't give them the 3rd and 1 and allow that playbook to be wide open. Can't give up that 9-yard run 2nd and 1. They can do whatever they want 2 plays in a row. They do. A-Rod does like to get into his bag and do trick plays. This is a rivalry game. I absolutely expect some of that. I kind of also wonder if Utah might pull out some of that. We haven't really seen too much of that from Beck. It's been a lot of just clean play. It'll be interesting, but I think that third ingredient in summary is Utah's run game needs to be better than BYU's run game.
Put it simply, for me, this is more emotional than anything else. But, I had a conversation this week with Spencer Fano, and we talked about a lot of different things. And one of the questions I asked him was, what did he learn about himself, about the team, coming out of that Texas Tech game? And what he shared with me was, he felt like he made that game bigger than it actually was, and it impacted his ability to perform. And he shared that he had a conversation with somebody who just reminded him that this is still just football. It's still just a child's game, and we're out there to have fun. And I think this year compared to last year, in terms of the team's health, the team's mentality, the team's vibe, the team's aura, the team's confidence, all of the above is on the totally opposite end of the spectrum compared to last year. There's a confidence and a swagger to this team that is more understated and subtle. It's not in your face confidence. It's these guys know that what they're capable of, and they just go out and they do what they do. And I think keeping that mindset of this just being a game, this is just a child's game. They're here to have fun. It's so important to remember that in a game like this, where the stage is so significant. And I think I'm really excited to see what that actually looks like. After Spencer Fano talked about it, he shared that he's really excited for this game. And I think that's going to be a key in this one as well, is just have fun, go out there, be dynamic. These guys are playmakers. They just need to go out there and make plays, which we've seen, in almost every game this season. Just go out, make plays, and they'll be just fine. All right, dude.
Well,
let's get to some of these rapid fire predictions. I'll give you the over under. Utah total rushing yards, 200 yards, over under.
I'm gonna go under there.
You're gonna go under. Okay, I'm gonna go over. Other side of the ball, BYU total rushing yards, over under 200 yards.
I'm gonna go under there as well.
I'm going to go slightly under. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think Utah does a good job there. Wayshawn Parker, longest run, over under 20 yards.
Go over.
I'm going to go over as well. Yeah, he's done a good job of consistently picking up, creating some of those explosive plays. I think he gets one here. Utah longest reception, over or under 35 yards.
I think Utah's going to get a big one here, so I'm going to go over.
I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to say under. Utah sacks, over under 1.5.
I'll go over.
I think I'm going to go over as well. I think JHD, Fano, I think those guys are going to be going to get after it. BYU sacks, over under half a sack.
I'm going to go under. No sacks.
I'll give BYU one. I think they get one. I think Jay Hill, I'll give him credit. He does a good job scheming things up. I think they'll get one. Utah takeaways, over under 1.5.
I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over.
Oh, wow. All right. I'm gonna go under. Utah has done a good job of protecting the ball for the most part. But I need to see more from them on the defensive side of the ball in terms of taking it away. So I need to see that before I put that out there. But I'm going to say over, but I mean under. But I think they still have a good shot at getting one. So, but need to see it. Utah turnovers, over under half a turnover.
I'm going to go under here. I think Utah takes care of the ball.
I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis this week, is protecting the ball, and I think Utah does that. I'm going to go under as well. And then last one, who scores Utah's first touchdown?
Bray. Daniel Bray.
Bray. Okay, Bray. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to say N'Kerry Rogers.
I did not play it safe, and I'm okay with that.
All right, score prediction. What you got?
Oh, I hate to make a prediction on a game like this, but I'm going to go 27-20 Utah.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think, want to keep that holstered for as long as I can. But I think I'm going to go 31-24. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think it's going to be just a heavyweight battle. I think Utah does just enough to get it done and to get the win down there in Provo. It's going to be tough. Like that atmosphere down there, it's legit. It's tough. It's a tough environment. It is loud, but I think again, like I've said, the vibe around this team is just totally different than last year. I think they're built for an opportunity like this. They just got to go out and do it, and I think we see it. So, anyways, let's run through some of these questions real quick, huh?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Are you gonna? Okay, perfect.
How is Jay Hill? Shoebask. How is Jay Hill against dynamic quarterbacks like Damp? Anyone know?
He's done a pretty good job for the most part, but I think what we saw against Colorado, Caden Salter ran for 84 yards, ran for a touchdown. He had a couple big plays, a couple 10-plus yard runs. And then against Arizona, Noah Fafita is not a big runner, but he also had a couple key runs in that game as well. So, I think there's an opportunity here for Dampier. Against West Virginia, that team is so one-dimensional that it's easy to defend. But I think there's real potential here for Utah. They've been one-dimensional by choice all season long because they're just really good at that one dimension. But I think that's going to be interesting. And I think if you look at what they did against Colorado, again, 84 yards and a touchdown, I think Dampier is really, really capable of doing that here.
Well, and Khalil Wilkins for West Virginia, he did get 89 yards on 23 carries. So I'd say it's a weakness. It's not as easy as putting a spy out there.
Yeah. Well, and two on that before we finish that one. There's all the talk about Dampier and just spying him, right? I think spy is it's a tactic, but you still have to make the play. And I think there's been a little overestimation about how effective that can be. Dampier has been really dynamic, making people miss. And I was looking at some of the missed tackle rates between Utah and BYU, and 6 of the top 10 missed tackle rates in this game belong to BYU players, some of whom play pretty significant roles. So, players need to make plays. Yes, it's a tactic, but I think Dampier, with what he showed last week, you should feel really comfortable, in his ability to make plays. Now, obviously, BYU, they feel very confident as well. They've got a very stingy defense. Again, this is a strength on strength matchup. It's just going to be about who ends up making the plays.
Yeah, and on that broken missed tackle rate, just a reminder, Utah has the number 2 broken missed tackle rate in the Big 12 with 29.9%. So essentially 30%. So it's, a strength meets a weakness for sure.
Yeah.
I like this question from Utah Mandalorian. I think Beck versus Hill, biggest challenge will be adjustments. I don't know Beck has had to really make a large adjustment to his game plan yet.
Yeah. And like I think that was sort of the point I was getting to, earlier about Beck. And he is kind of a wild card factor here because we don't know. There are things that we saw last year from the New Mexico offense with Dampier that we haven't seen yet, that I know are there, that I know Beck wouldn't just throw away. They've got the athletes here to do them and to do some things more effectively. So I'm really curious to see what Beck does this week. And to your point, I think in-game adjustments and even, adjustments from last week to this week, but then in-game adjustments will be really interesting to see how that unfolds this week.
Yeah, and it's you look at the Tech game. That's the only real big opportunity Beck had to make in-game adjustments, and Utah continued to kind of hit the flats over and over again. Those adjustments that Utah needed to see in game, they happened the next week. The next week against West Virginia was an emphasis to not live in the flats, to not target that over and over again. So, I think Mandalorian brings up a good point, and that'll be a good opportunity because there's, push is going to come to shove probably at multiple points in this game. Jay Hill is an outstanding defensive coordinator, and
Yeah.
It'll be a great challenge for Beck. Let's lighten it up. Ben's got a question. What's your pizza order from the Pie, Steve?
Well, from now on, it's thin crust pizza, obviously.
And our guy James tried to tell us about this like 2 years ago, and nobody listened
really
to him.
did. He really
Nobody
did.
listened to him.
Yeah, he really did.
I don't
excited, man. The cheese pull apart's obviously fantastic. Man, I think we're gonna be ending up there tomorrow night for the game. So I'm excited about that. I'm a big meat guy, love the mountain of meat, obviously. That's a great one. I also love the barbecue chicken cilantro as well. That's a good one.
That is a good one. I feel like I need to reevaluate everything I've ever known about the Pie now that I'm willing to give that a chance.
Yeah.
Pull aparts have always been the move. I lived 5-minute walk from the Pie and lived off those, you could say.
Yeah, for sure.
What do we make of TDS's secondary?
Yeah, it's solid because again, they keep players in coverage. And with this, they have a couple athletes in Evan Johnson and the other guy, whatever is Alexander, whatever his name is, that they feel more comfortable playing more man coverage, and they've made plays. They've certainly upped that, but this is a big zone defense. Again, 62% zone coverage this year so far, and they do different things. They'll do cover one. That's when they go man. They'll go cover two with some split safeties. They'll go a lot of cover three. That is their primary coverage option now is cover three. And so they just try to keep everything in front of them, keep guys in coverage, and keep bodies occupying space. That's how they're so effective. But I think there's going to be opportunities for Utah against this secondary. And I think the interesting thing here is the loss of Raider Demooney and what impact that has on the secondary overall. They've had the luxury of being able to utilize Tanner Wall, Raider Demooney, and Faletau Satuala, all together at times, rotating them in at different times. But now, it seems like Raider isn't going to be available. He was, pretty effective, in slot and nickel responsibilities, strong safety responsibilities. So I'm interested to see if that's has an impact on this game. But yeah, I think Utah can generate some things against this secondary because there are going to be openings in coverage.
Yeah, no, I like that. And unless you got any more, I'd like to end on this one. Colby Groneman. What wrinkle play takes place this week that makes a difference?
There's things that they can do with Daniel Bray that, I was talking earlier about stuff we saw with New Mexico's offense last season, where they utilized the running backs, in the passing game. There's things that Bray can do to really, create opportunities there. Screen game is a big thing. I think Bray can potentially, add a wrinkle there. And with his speed, with his athleticism, I think that could be a really fun dynamic this week.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more of the run fake, pull it, keep it, throw it. I think that's going to I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And I'll keep it sweet and simple there. I just think just more of that play action, the fake, opting to pass on those RPO plays. I think some of that stuff is going to be important. And I think Daniel Bray is an absolute one to keep an eye on too. We see him grow more in involvement each week. So,
yeah. So we'll wrap this one up. This is a big one, obviously. I know that there's going to be a tailgate down there. DB Ute or DB Culpepper and Itty Bitty Ute I know they're going to be putting that out here soon. But I recommend everybody going to that tailgate. I'm going to send some funds to those boys to help supply some of the tailgate stuff for the blockheads and people tuning in. So if you want to tailgate Saturday, go to that spot. I know that they'll be posting that soon if they haven't already. And enjoy yourself. Have fun. Be confident going into this game. Be respectful, obviously, with the news earlier this week. With threats being made, be safe, be smart, be respectful, and but again, be confident going into this one.
Yeah, no, excited. This rivalry can be exhausting, and to finally be here and to the game week and to get to the other side, whatever the outcome may be, it'll be nice to have speculation and things like that put to bed. For Utah, it feels like you talked about it earlier this week when you were on with Mitch Harper over at Cougar Tracks, and you guys were talking. You talked about pressure. There's a lot of pressure on Utah to win this game, and that's the kind of game that Kyle likes. I think having Utah already been punched in the mouth, I think that is something that's going to play a factor. Having the backs against the wall, that's going to be a factor. BYU largely untested to this point, that's going to be a factor. So just really excited to watch these two teams square off. Both teams being in a prime position. It's going to be a fun game, and just want to echo what Bartle said. Be safe, be smart, be kind, and have fun.
All right, for myself, for Bennett, for Dustin, who was on with us earlier for the Utah Blockcast, this has been a lot of fun. Wrap this one up, put a bow on it, and have this posted. Stay tuned. Bennett going to be getting the space up. We'll all be in there and excited to hear from everybody.